159 straight days of Clippers talk. Welcome in. Clippers in Miami taking on the Heat. Second night of a back-to-back. Miami with the rest advantage. No Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers. All that doesn't matter. They got to find a way to win. Pregame show starts in about 15 minutes from now. I thought I'd jump in early since people are hitting the panic button a little bit. Understandably. Last night was frustrating for me too. Clippers found a plethora of ways to lose a ball game and to kill their winning streak after what I thought could be extended with the way they won that third game against Sacramento with the Kawhi game winner. Not to be. Time to start a new winning streak. 17 games left in the regular season. Got to get it together now. But it's difficult when your best player is out tonight on the second night of a back-to-back, obviously. But they've been through this before. They got to figure it out. They have enough. Even without Norm, even without Kawhi, they have enough. Even without Ben Simmons, who I do think that has hurt them. I know it's a guy they just brought in, but I really think the loss of Ben Simmons and what his potential could be with the small ball units, man, that's been tough to get by without. Hopefully, when the Clippers are back against Charlotte, I think we'll get an update about Norm and Ben Simmons on Sunday. Maybe there'll be some good news. We would take some. But this is a Clippers team that just... You're playing a Miami team that's lost 4 in a row. That also is playing bad basketball coming out of the All-Star break like the Clippers. You have to win. You have to win this game. But too many times I've called a game a pseudo must-win game, and they haven't gotten it done. So, not making any promises. No guarantees here. But they got to come out and play much harder from the start. And that was something Brian Shaw said post-game last night after the loss. I'm sure he said it pregame to them. Yeah. Not great. Wait a second. Yeah. Lau Murray was talking about Atlanta. I'm like, they're in Miami tonight. Atlanta is Friday. And then they're back into a dome. The exact same as last year. Depends which game in New Orleans I'm thinking of. They had one of their better wins in New Orleans last season. So, how many times did they play them last year? They smoked New Orleans in one game in New Orleans last season during that 26-5 run. Obviously, you wouldn't be talking about that one, though. So was there another that they played in New Orleans last season? The March 15th game where they lost 112-104. Maybe it was that one you're talking about. Not the 111-95 win there. They all kind of feel the same with the way they lose to the Pelicans. The injury report has been out for some time, Mikey. He's not playing. They already said he wasn't playing days before. In March last year, he played back-to-backs. You mean before his knee swelled up? He had played more than, what is he at, 23 games before entering March last season. There's zero parallels, really. Doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, Mikey, but that doesn't make sense. Last year, he was playing back-to-backs the majority of the season. He'd already played for months before March came. He probably should never play another back-to-back. Never say never, though. Just given his injury history, I don't know why he would. The Clippers are, I might do a show on this tomorrow. It does feel like they're heading towards ending up in that 8th spot. There's no Norm injury update. He's not with the team. He's not playing on the road trip. Any other questions? See, the Jazz got hit with a $100,000 fine. Like that's going to do anything. For violating the player participation policy. The only way to really stop that stuff is take away a draft pick or something. I agree, Miles. I agree. Here's the thing. If they make it out of the play-in, when I said I think they're going to end up in 8th, I'm saying in the play-in tournament, 7 and 8 plays each other. The Clippers could be 8th and likely will be. And the winner of that becomes a 7th seed. So in that case, you wouldn't be playing OKC. Depends on what you mean, Mikey. The Lakers aren't going to be the number 1 seed. At best, they can be the number 2 seed. I personally think they're going to fall back of that and probably end up number 3 or 4 because of the LeBron injury and because of their upcoming schedule. So, therefore, unless you're 6th, you're probably not playing the Lakers. And just looking at the standings, they do still have a game left against Golden State, but they still got to get in front of Minnesota, who's in the 7th spot and has the tiebreaker over the Clippers. So it's going to be very difficult to get out of this current situation. It's also going to be difficult to fall back and be below 8 because they have the tiebreaker, the Clippers over the Kings. I think they're pretty wedged in that 8th spot, which means a play-in the 7-8 game. Winner gets the 7th seed. Jordan, this is a question I've been asking for a long time. They do it a lot, but they didn't do it enough to start that game. 3rd quarter, they did. And wouldn't you know, the Clippers scored 39 points yesterday. That was their best quarter. Problem is their defense wasn't good enough. Pregame show starting in a couple minutes here, guys. At least we aren't playing the Pelicans in the first round. I agree, Miles. They haven't capitalized. They're 4-7 post All-Star break. They haven't taken advantage of the lighter schedule at times. The Suns' losses, brutal. The Bucks' loss was bad. Yesterday was bad. Not getting a split with the Lakers was bad. Yeah, second chance points. Destroyed them yesterday. Blow it up and get pennies on the dollars for Kawhi. Warriors may have a tougher next four, but overall they do have the easier schedule moving forward. Why do I think they've been bad on the road? Oh, the road's difficult, and I mean, look at their record against teams above 500. It's not great. Look at their record against the West. It's not great. Could just be that they're a really good home team, and anything else is a problem for them. The Norm injury is brutal. I mean, that's a big reason. I think they have at least 3 more wins post All-Star break if they have Norm. But what's the point? They don't. Yeah, the other side of the bad road record is they've had the third best home record since November. So after that slow start where they lost their first 4 games at Intuit Dome, they have had the third best record at home in the league behind, I want to say, Cavs and Celtics. All right, guys, getting ready to start here. All right, 1:30. Welcome into Clippers Countdown. As your 35-30 LA Clippers are in Miami and facing the 29-35 Heat, who, like the Clippers, have cooled off post All-Star break as they are just 4-7, the same record as the Clippers over that time, who just suffered another defeat in Game 1 of this 3-game road trip last night in New Orleans with a 127-120 loss to the Pelicans. Here was acting head coach Brian Shaw post-game on the loss and why the Clippers comeback came up short after a big push in the third after trailing by as many as 21.
I think they came down and hit 3 threes in a row, and then that kind of, we expended so much energy to get back in the game at several different moments in the game. But, we talked about this team being hungry, young and hungry, and we got to respect them as professionals regardless of what their record is, or anything like that. And I thought that they came out and they were the hungrier team tonight right from the start, and that's the difference in the game.
The Clippers cannot afford a slow start against a Miami team that's looking to bounce back after having 4 losses in a row. And quite frankly, with just 17 games left in the season for the Clippers, This is, as Kawhi Leonard said, the part of the schedule that is going to make or break them in the standings. So they have to be fully focused from the jump, and that includes games even without Kawhi, who they won't have tonight. This team simply has to rally around the injury adversity and play through it if they want a chance to better position themselves in the standings as the playoffs approach. Tip-off between the Clippers and Heat is just about 60 minutes away from Miami. Coming up, you're going to hear from B. Shaw, but Carlo Jimenez is on next, your radio voice of the Clippers. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Shout out Noah Eagle. Clippers in Miami taking on the Heat. Tip-off is just about 58 minutes away. Welcome back in. I'm Adam Osland. Coming up here in the pregame show, we got Brian Shaw. But first, present Carlo Jimenez. Carlo, how you doing?
Good to see you. I'm doing good. We're here at the Casella Center. Second night of a back-to-back. It doesn't feel like one. 8 o'clock local tip, Adam. This was a game that the Clippers have had all day to think about, all day to ruminate about, and hopefully all day to change the feeling from last night in New Orleans.
Much needs to be fixed and adjusted after a 127-120 loss where they trailed by as many as 21 yesterday to the Pelicans. But where did you see their demise at? Because there's a few different things you could talk about. The slow start, the second chance points, the missed free throws late. How did the Clippers ended up falling in that one in your mind?
It's a good question, Adam, because there's a lot of things during the action in which it felt like, maybe this was the reason the Clippers lost. A lot of people look at the free throws at the end of the game where they missed 3 of them. But for me, it's the second chance points that New Orleans was able to get. We talked about it coming into the ball game, but New Orleans averages 12 second chance points a ball game. That is the second lowest in the NBA. They do not score a lot of points on second chance opportunities. They had 23 in that ball game. And then, Adam, if I can, I'm going to add points in the paint as well. The New Orleans Pelicans were the team that allowed the most points in the paint in the NBA, only behind the Portland Trailblazers, and they beat the Clippers at points in the paint. So New Orleans did a good job of beating the Clippers in 2 areas where this season, Adam, the Clippers are top 5 in both of those areas. defensive rebounding and attacking the paint, and they got beat by New Orleans.
Pelicans also were hot from the outside, shot a season high 55% from three. How much of that in your mind was just crazy outlier shooting, and how much of the responsibility goes on the Clippers?
I think the Clippers, obviously, you can't just walk into a ball game and say, well, they shot the lights out and we lost. If they shot 70%, the Clippers shot 50%, then maybe that's a conversation. But I think for the Clippers, part of it is definitely on them for being able to just rotate defensively. But at the same time, Adam, Jose Alvarado hits a sidestep corner three at one point in that ball game. They started the second half 9 for 12 from three. I mean, and they finished at 9 for 14. It was a unbelievable shooting performance from that New Orleans team. If I'm not mistaken, Adam, the third highest shooting performance in the team's history from the field against the Clippers in that ball game at 55.6%. Just unreal in shooting for the Pels. 54% from the three-point line. The Clippers had to fight through a lot of made shots. You think about when the game was tied late in the third quarter, Adam, 3 straight threes by New Orleans. They all of a sudden go up by 8. That seemed to be a really big change in that ball game. Interested to see how the Clippers adjust. Justin Russo put out a great couple of tweets on, I know a lot of people have been talking about, is it shooting luck that is against the Clippers right now? And I thought he outlined that, I think a little bit of this is shooting luck, but a little bit of it is part of the controllables for the Clippers getting back to that stout three-point defense. At one point, they were top 3 in the NBA at defending the three-point line.
One of the positives when the Clippers started to build up that comeback in the second half, specifically to start that third quarter, they played through Big Zoo, and regardless if he was being single covered or if they threw the double team, he was making plays. He was scoring or he was finding cutters to the basket. It was good to see that. They couldn't sustain it, but at least Big Zoo still making that progress when it comes to passing out of double teams. You can see it game by game.
And we know that, because he's told us, Brian Shaw really values what Ivica Zubac brings to this team. He wants to play through Ivica Zubac. There was a stretch to start the third quarter at him where I think when the Clippers started to come back after being down big, they fell down 17, I believe, with 9 minutes to go in the third. Ivica Zubac either scored or assisted on 6 straight possessions for the Clippers in that third quarter. The Clippers play an inside-out style of basketball with Zoo as an anchor on the inside to get guys open on the outside. And I think Ivica Zubac proved time and time again that he's been excellent with either distributing the basketball. It was only the Clippers' second loss this season when he has 5 or more assists. And then also scoring the basketball against a double team. He was not phased in that ball game. Shot 9 for 12 from the field. The answers are there for the Clippers. Getting Ivica Zubac the ball more. Getting back on the defensive end more. But executing it is a whole nother ballgame. It's very easy to say. The good news for the Clips is there's no mystery into why they have struggled out of the All-Star break. It's just getting the answers right. And I also think getting healthy this season will help them. No Norman Powell has clearly been a big reason why the Clippers have struggled, and Kawhi Leonard unable to go on the second night of a back-to-back for the Clips. No Ben Simmons is well off the bench, who I thought Adam had a great showing for the Clippers through his couple of games. I mean, 25 assists and 2 turnovers in the games he has played with this Clipper team. He has also been a huge miss for the Clippers. You get those 3 guys back, I think this team can play with anybody in the NBA. Now, those might be Clipper-colored glasses, but they have the talent to get it done.
Clippers got to do it without the cavalry arriving quite yet. They're in Miami taking on the Heat tonight. Second night of a back-to-back. Carlo Jimenez is on the call. And up next, as we are just about 52 minutes away from tip-off, he's got his interview with Brian Shaw. You're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Miami taking on the Heat. Tip-off is just 50 minutes away. I'm Adam Moslin. This is Clippers Countdown, the official pregame show of your LA Clippers. Still to come, we'll go back in time and Clippers Rewind. But first, let's get back over to your radio voice of the Clippers in Carlo Jimenez.
Thanks so much, Adam. Here with assistant coach Brian Shaw before the Clippers take on the Miami Heat. Coach James, 17 assists in the last game. He's third in the NBA among guys who've had 17 or more assists in a game. What makes him such a great passer?
Well, he just has great court vision, and he can the ability to anticipate the next action that's going to happen out there on the floor. And being a player that has scored as prolifically as he has throughout his career, he's seen every situation, kind of knows where, how to make a read if guys are going to blitz him in the pick and roll, or if they're going to come double him, or they're doubling somebody else, or they're pulling in from the weak side. And then he has good size, usually bigger than the guards that are guarding him, so he can kind of see over the defense and pick them apart.
Just two more for you, but this team is 10-5 with a rest disadvantage this season. It's the fourth best record in the NBA. Why do you guys play so well when you're down a game?
Well, I wish I knew the answer to that, and I hope that it continues tonight. I think the last time on the second night of a back-to-back, if I'm not correct, is that when James had 50?
It is.
Yeah, so hopefully we can have another one of those performances tonight.
All right, final one. Similar to the first James one, but Zoo is not like an elite jumper. He's not someone who would you think is a nimble player, yet he's top 5 in the NBA in rebounds, top 3 in offensive rebounds per game. Why is he such a good rebounder?
Well, I think he's figured it out now, in terms of his size and his strength. Having himself closer to the basket now. A lot of times when he used to set picks, he didn't get off of the roll and get down, to the basket. Now he's getting closer to the basket. He's starting lower in the dunker position, and using his size to wedge guys out from under the basket. And so, it's just coming with his growth and experience in the league. That's what it is.
Thank you so much. Best of luck.
All right, thanks.
There's Brian Shaw pregame with Carlo Jimenez as we get set for the Clippers in Miami, taking on the Heat. Tip-off is 47 minutes away, and up next, we're going back in time in Clippers Rewind right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Miami taking on the Heat. Tip-off 44 minutes away. Welcome back. I'm Adam Osland. This is Clippers Countdown. Still to come, we'll get your player to watch. But first, we're going back in time in Clippers Rewind to January 14th of 2005. In theaters at the time, you had Clint Eastwood's Academy Award-winning $1 Million Baby, and also out at that time, you had the Razzie Award-winning Elektra, a spinoff of the awful Ben Affleck Daredevil movie before you had the series, and I haven't even watched the third season yet. The fourth season just came out, Reborn or something. Yeah, I don't know, but that was with Jennifer Garner. On the radio was Mario's Let Me Love You, and the Clippers were tied up at home against the Miami Heat with Shaq and D. Wade.
The Clippers will have the basketball. They put 2.7 seconds on the clock. Both teams are out of timeout. Tied at 112. 20,000 fans are standing.
Martin McCurl first, see if Simmons doesn't follow. Spaghetti will fire for the win. He gets it! The Clippers lead it! Oh, real wide! Corey Maggette throws it in. Half seven, 3-point lead. They throw it away. Aslam threw a curveball into the third row. Corey Maggette throws in a circus three-pointer. The Clippers were hunting for a hero. They found one. It's the Clippers ball underneath. They just have to get the ball in bounds and touch it. It's over. They make it a two-pointer now, so it's 114 to 112. But scoreboard clock, they're 114, 112. Inbounded to Simmons. He'll hold on. It's over. The Clippers win. What a ball game in double overtime. Who wants to be a hero? Corey says, I do.
Corey Maggette coming through there, an all-time Clipper, now broadcaster with the team. Came to the rescue for the Clippers against the Miami Heat back in 2005 there, back at Staples Center. Corey was with the Clippers for 8 seasons, was a big part of that Clippers team in the mid-2000s that made a run in the 2006 playoffs. He averaged 17 points and 6 boards per game as a Clipper. Of course, you can now watch him as an analyst on FanDuel TV. Clippers in Miami, taking on the Heat. Tip-off is 40 minutes away. Coming up next, we'll get your player to watch. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Miami taking on the Heat. Tip-off is just about 38 minutes away. I'm Adam Osland. Coming up here on Clippers Countdown, we will get to your injury report and back to Carlo Jimenez. But first,
this is LA Clippers basketball.
Watching this guy play right now is really something.
Players to watch.
tonight I'm looking at Bogdan Bogdanović. Bogey ball. We need it. We need him to knock him down from the outside. Just 1 of 4 from 3 in their 127-120 loss in New Orleans yesterday. Bogey 3 of 9 overall with 8 points, just 2 boards, just 1 assist. He had been better in the playmaking category as of late, but Bogdanović is simply without Kawhi, without Norm, without Ben Simmons even. He's necessary. They need him to play well. He had been shooting it a little bit better from the outside. He had a 5-game stretch where he shot 47% from 3, but then he went 0 of 4 against New York. Just attempted 1 against the Sacramento Kings, went 1 of 1, and then 1 of 4 from 3 against New Orleans yesterday. But that Detroit game was the last time the Clippers were on the second night of a back-to-back. That was the Harden 50 ball. But outside of that, the guy who was second in scoring for the Clippers was Bogey. Bogdanović had 23 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, a block, a steal. He was 8 of 16 from the field. He was 3 of 6 from 3. They don't win that game over the Pistons back it into a dome without him. Wasn't just about James Harden in that one. He was great. They need him to have 15-plus points in this game, I believe, to get a victory over the Heat in Miami. Bogdan Bogdanović, my player to watch. Coming up next, we'll get to your injury report. Clippers tipping off in Miami 36 minutes from now. You're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers taking on the Heat in Miami. Tip-off just 34 minutes away. Coming up, we'll talk about some of those shooting numbers. Law of averages going against the Clippers right now. But first, I do want to get to your injury report. Here on Clippers Countdown. As always, it's brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, download the app today and use code KLAC to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Talked about it earlier. Still no Ben Simmons, left knee. Still no Norman Powell, right hamstring. Kawhi, injury management, still coming back, just 23 games in off of the unfortunate latest injury last season with the knee swelling, taking him out of that playoff series against Dallas. As for the Miami Heat, Alec Burks is out for them. They do have Jaime Hawkins, who's available, coming off a right ankle sprain. No Nikola Jovic, who broke his right hand. Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, also both available for this ball game. Remember, the Miami Heat, they're coming off of losing 4 in a row. They're trying to bounce back. Like the Clippers, they're 4-7 coming out of the All-Star break. They're trying to make a push themselves. They're currently 9th in the Eastern Conference. Clippers, Miami, tip-off 31 minutes away. Coming up next, we'll talk about some of the unfortunate shooting numbers going against the Clippers as of late and how these can turn around. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers taking on the Heat in Miami, and tip-off is just about 29 minutes away. I'm Adam Osland. Welcome back in. This is Clippers Countdown here on the official pregame show of your Los Angeles Clippers on the Clippers Radio Network. Still to come, we'll get to an NBA out-of-town scoreboard. Carlo Jimenez will rejoin the show. But speaking of, Carlo brought something up a little bit earlier, talking about the Clippers and three-point shooting going against them as of late. Some people are calling it, well, just bad shooting luck. The shooting variance not going their way. And Justin Russo last night at Fly By Night ran some of the numbers. I pulled up some of these about a month ago, but I wanted an update on what the opposition is doing from three after what we saw yesterday by the Pelicans, who went for a season-high 55% from the outside, making 17 of their 31 attempts from three. So since February 1st, the Clippers have allowed the third fewest corner three-pointer attempts per game at just 8.4. But teams are shooting almost 46% on those corner three balls. It's not that the Clippers are giving up a lot. Third fewest in the league given up since February 1st, yet teams are shooting the third highest percentage against them at 46% on those corner threes. Before February 1st, teams were taking 9 corner three attempts per game. So more, but they shot the 6th lowest percentage on those shots at just 37%. So they're taking less, but they're almost shooting 10% better on corner threes against the Clippers. It's not that they're giving up more. Teams are just knocking them down now. Could that be just bad shooting luck going against the Clippers? Probably, because as I've been saying for a while, they're not giving up more open looks than they were before. The question is, how much did they benefit from teams just missing open shots earlier in the season? That could be what's going on here. And things are now turning around. The numbers are evening out. They're flattening out. They're progressing to the mean in kind of a drastic way against the Clippers to get back to where they should be based upon shooting poorly from three earlier in the season against them. Now they're shooting much better on those open looks or whenever the Clippers are giving up those corner threes, of which, of course, teams shoot a much higher percentage from. Meanwhile, if you look at the Clippers' three-point shooting, post-All-Star break, last 11 games now, they haven't been hitting shots. They're just 34.2% from three their last 11 games where they're 4-7. So you look at that, and you go, okay, teams are hitting at a much higher rate against them, while the Clippers are missing at a higher rate. And a lot of this goes into the fact they haven't had Norman Powell outside of 9 minutes in that second game against the Lakers before he went out with a hamstring injury. That's a recipe for disaster. That's how you have a 4-7 record the last 11 games. So a lot's been going wrong when it comes to this Clippers team and going against them currently right now, with them not hitting threes, the opposition hitting threes against them, even though they're giving up less of them. It just feels like the Clippers are in that really bad spot where they have to have a feel-good victory in Miami and get out of this rut, because after winning 3 in a row at Into a Dome, the road woes have continued, where the Clippers just haven't been good enough on the road, especially since the start of the season. Remember, they had a couple very good wins early on this year in Denver, in Golden State. But now the Clippers, their away record is just 13-20. That's where they're at on the road. That's the worst record on the road of the top 9 teams in the Western Conference. That's a little bit alarming. Now, the other side of it is with the Clippers, they've been really good at Into a Dome. They have had, since that 0-4 start at their new arena, the third best home record in the league since that 0-4 start. They're 22-10 at the Dome. But too many road games left, and if you are the 8th seed, if they finish in this position in the standings and they're in that 7-8 matchup in the play-in tournament, currently today Minnesota would be right in front of them in that 7th spot. They'd be going to Minnesota for that first play-in game. Winner becomes the 7th seed in the Western Conference. So they have to be better in road games, much better. And if you look at the Clippers' upcoming schedule, obviously tonight in Miami, Friday in Atlanta, and let's just look ahead a little bit further to see how many more road games they have to go. They have a 4-game East Coast swing coming up on March 26th, where they will be in New York, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Orlando. Some tough games in there, obviously. They end the season, their last 2 games then, after a 5-game homestand, up in Sacramento in a big game that could have seeding implications. They do have the tiebreaker over the Kings, but they don't want to be in that position where you have to win that game late in the season against Sacramento up at Golden One Center. And then their final game is against the Golden State Warriors, who they also have the tiebreaker against. Golden State, though, currently playing much better basketball since they got Jimmy Butler, the former Miami Heat player. They are 12-1 with him in the lineup, and they're in the 6th spot in the Western Conference and a couple games up on the Clippers. So to chase them down is going to be difficult. Meanwhile, the team that's right in front of them, that's blocking them from Golden State, will be the Minnesota Timberwolves, as I mentioned, and they have the tiebreaker over the Clippers. So a lot of things going against them right now, and it looks like there's a real good chance, based upon odds and upcoming schedules, that the Clippers could end up where they are right now currently in the Western Conference as the 8th seed. Again, that means they'd be on the road for that 7-8 matchup in the play-in tournament going to Minnesota, which is actually a place they lost a play-in game back in 2022. Remember Patrick Beverley swinging his jersey around, throwing it into the crowd. People were mocking him, saying they act like they won the championship. I think they were a first-round exit possibly against the Memphis Grizzlies. But that's not a place you want to have to go and play Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves on the road, especially if you don't have the confidence traveling and being away from Into a Dome. And it hasn't looked like that right now. They just have been absolutely a Jekyll and Hyde act with a different team at Into a Dome than they are on the road. So the Clippers, they have to improve that road record. They need a victory on the second night of a back-to-back tonight. They are 10-5 on the second night of back-to-backs, and they just won their last instance of this when they won at Into a Dome against Detroit after losing the night before against the Phoenix Suns, where they blew that 23-point lead. So tonight is imperative, Clipper Nation. They have to find a way to get this victory against Miami, a team that has lost 4 in a row, that is also heading and trending in the wrong direction currently. Clippers got to right the ship in Miami. Tip-off is just about 20 minutes away. Coming up next, we'll get to an NBA out-of-town scoreboard, and then Carlo Jimenez. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Miami taking on the Heat. Tip-off is just about 18 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. Welcome back. I'm Adam Osland. Coming up, back to Carlo Jimenez, but first, let's get you your drive around the league, brought to you by Toyota's electrified lineup, including hybrids, plug-in hybrids, all electrics, and even fuel cell electric vehicles, so you can choose exactly the type you need for your lifestyle. We make it easy. Just one game is tipped off in the association. Early score in Atlanta, where the Clippers will be on Friday, is 5-all between the Hawks and the Hornets. Coming up later tonight, Trailblazers hosting the New York Knicks and Karl Anthony Towns. Nuggets hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. In that one, I would assume you'd be rooting for the Denver Nuggets because you want the Timberwolves to lose some games. Clippers can catch them in the standings. Remember, they have that tiebreaker over the Clippers, though. But a good battle between Nikola Jokic, averaging 29, 13, and 11 assists per game, averaging that triple-double. He's put up some crazy numbers. And recently, coming off the victory against OKC on a home-and-home back-to-back they just played against them, where they split it, Jokic said he's playing the best basketball of his career. But if they give the MVP to SGA, he understands he is worthy. He is that good. If this isn't enough, Jokic said, with the numbers that he's putting up, then SGA must be pretty damn good, basically, is what he was saying. It's down between those two guys. Once again, I thought SGA could have won it last season. Nikola Jokic has the analytics numbers in his favor. Still, again, you look at their offensive rating for the Denver Nuggets. When he's off the floor, they have an offensive rating of 102. That would be the worst offensive rating by a team in the league this season. He is completely responsible and the catalyst for how good they are on the offensive side. Spurs hosting the Dallas Mavericks, obviously going through injury concerns. Memphis Grizzlies, who you might want to win and move up, so they jump over the Denver Nuggets as being that number 2 seed. So if you end up in that 2-7 matchup, you're playing the Memphis Grizzlies instead of the Denver Nuggets or instead of the Los Angeles Lakers. I think the Clippers would match up better against Memphis overall. So I think we're rooting for them to win right now. The Houston Rockets, it looks like they are starting to right the ship a little bit after being, a team that was falling down the standings for a while. They're hosting the Phoenix Suns later tonight. And a couple more just tipped off. Raptors hosting the beleaguered and 22-42 Philadelphia 76ers. Boston Celtics are taking on the Thunder, who have a quick 7-0 lead 2 minutes in Boston. So a big matchup between one of the best from the West and the East. Clippers in Miami taking on the Heat. Tip-off is just about 15 minutes away. Coming up next, we'll get back to Carlo Jimenez. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Miami taking on the Heat. Tip-off is just about 11 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. Welcome back. I'm Adam Moslin. Still to come. We'll get to your keys to victory, but first, back out to Miami and back out to Carlo Jimenez, your radio voice of the Clippers. So, Carlo, the Miami Heat in a similar situation post-All-Star break, just like the Clippers. You were texting me this earlier today. They're 4-7 their last 11 games post-All-Star break, same as the Clippers. Are they dealing with some of the same issues? Is it injuries? Is it shooting variance going against them? Why are the Miami Heat struggling the way they are?
I mean, part of it, Adam, is they're integrating new pieces. I mean, Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell in the starting lineup with this group. They pretty much have a new starting center now in Khalil Ware, who was their first-round pick that didn't really play most of the season to start and now is getting consistent minutes. But really, it's been the blown leads for this Miami team. Just in the month of March, Adam, Miami has blown 3 17-point leads, and all of them are here in this building. They have blown 16 leads this year, or 17, excuse me. That is only one less than the Utah Jazz, who have blown 18. So that's been a big part of the reason that this team has struggled. They have just been unable to hang on to games. A lot of close games, a lot of games in which they're leading in the fourth quarter and not ending up at a lot of wins.
Yeah, so they do have things in common with the Clippers there with some of those blown leads going on. How has Andrew Wiggins looked so far in the black, white, and red that the Miami Heat wear?
He had a great start to their last game Monday against Charlotte. Really was aggressive early, got to the basket, knocked down a three, and then kind of faded from then on out. He's still trying to figure out his rhythm. Eric Spoelstra, the head coach of the Heat, talked pregame about how he knows what they need from him and what they want from him. It's just Wiggins finding any sort of comfort in this system. And so for him, this is somebody who still has 2 more years left on his deal, and only one of those is a player option. He seems to be a Miami Heat for the foreseeable future. This is not a contract that expires this summer. Miami really thinks Wiggins could be a big piece for them, and so as he continues to try to adjust, he has ramped it up, though, a little bit, Adam. While the team's just 2-6 in games he has played, last 5 games he's averaging 20 points a contest, shooting 42% for the field.
Speaking of ramping things up, I like the amount of minutes we're seeing recently with Nico Batum, who has been getting the starting nod as of late for this Clippers team. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but you just have that calming presence, that veteran presence out there, a guy you can always rely on who has been there, done that, seen it all in Nico Batum that can help this Clippers team, especially in the last 17 games here.
Especially with his three-point shooting at him, 58% from the three-point line in those 4 starts. He has been knocking down threes at a high rate for this Clipper team. What's the more impressive part of this from Nico Batum, Adam, he's got 7 blocks in his last 4 starts. He has 30 on the season. So that's almost 25% of his blocks this year. And almost 33% have come as of late for Nico Batum in this starting lineup. He is turning it on defensively for the Clippers. 2 blocks last time out. It's been impressive to watch Nico really take defense to another level. And I think there's something there between him and Jeff Van Gundy, because every time Batum has a block, and we described it on the radio for you last time out, he points to Jeff on the bench as if to say, look, I'm doing it. I'm getting blocks. And that's not the first time players have been challenged by JVG. And then immediately when they complete that challenge, as we saw with Bogey getting some rebounds on his way to a career high a couple of games ago, they look towards Jeff as if to say, I'm doing what you asked. There is really a high level of chemistry between the players in JVG, and it's fun to see it out on the floor.
Might have left a Post-it note in his locker asking him to do a little bit more when it comes to protecting the rim like that. Speaking of defense with this Clippers team and what occurred last night, I think what I was frustrated with was just the amount of inconsistency we saw from this Clippers team, where they had really good stretches but really poor stretches, including some really good stretches in that fourth quarter where they had 7 turnovers they created on the Miami Heat. And to me, that's just a sign of, well, they got to play that style of basketball for 48 minutes. They had that sense of urgency and desperation late when they got down by 17 in the fourth quarter, but they got to come out with that tonight, Carlo, in Miami and play like that from the get-go.
And it starts with just doing the simple thing. That's what Ty Lue has talked about for this team this season. Make the simple play. What do we mean by that? Get the ball to Ivica Zubac and let him go to work, because he's been that effective. Top 6 in the NBA in field goal percentage at 62% this season, and somebody who can find his teammates on the outside. I think also for this Clipper team, continuing to attack the painted area. They are top 5 in the NBA in percentage of their points coming from the paint at 45.5%. They also defend the paint better than most teams in the NBA. Top 5 in points allowed in the paint. They have to dominate the paint. Do what you do best. This team could try to live and die by the 3, but they are better than that. We'll see if they can get back to the paint tonight in Miami.
All right, Carlo, my player to watch tonight, I'm going with Bogdan Bogdanovic. I'm looking for a little bit of bogey ball out there and hoping he can bounce back and find his shot. Who do you got in this one for the Clippers?
It's a good pick, Adam. 42% from 3 his last 8 games. Bogey has been getting buckets for the Clippers. You liked how Nico Batum has been playing on the offensive end. I love how he's been playing on the offensive end. But I'm going Derrick Jones Jr., the former Miami Heat player. Spent 3 years here in Miami, including during that finals run back in 2020. Derrick Jones Jr., an opportunity to get back home in a place that really jump-started his career. I mean, he was almost out of the league before signing a 2-way contract here with the Heat. And now, after signing that 3-year, $30 million deal with the Clippers last offseason, has blossomed into an elite player for the Clippers. I know I picked him last game, Adam. Before you bring it up, I'm doing it again.
Who, me? I wouldn't
It's a
do that.
back-to-back. You would. Oh, yeah. You would do that, yeah. Daniel, pull up the tape.
Oh,
okay?
God, no. All right, you got DJ. I'm going with Bogey. We're going with the Clippers W hopefully tonight in Miami. They need a victory over the Heat. Tip-off is just about 6 minutes away. Carlo Jimenez is on the call. Coming up next, we'll get to your keys to victory right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers and Heat from Miami. Tip-off just moments away. Let's get to your keys to victory. Well, needless to say, the Clippers need to be more active in guarding guys along the three-point line. Their perimeter defense has to be very good after what we saw last night with the Pelicans going 55% from the outside. So the last 11 games, this is all post-All-Star break, the Miami Heat have been attempting 36 threes per game and shooting 36% from distance. Not great, about middle of the pack. The Clippers need to keep them there. They cannot let the Heat get hot from the outside in this ball game. And also get back to those points off of turnovers that the Clippers have been really good about so far this season. They are second in the league when it comes to points off of turnovers per game. They are averaging 20. points off of turnovers per game on the year, but just 19 over the last 11 games for the Clippers. The Miami Heat, they're not great in that area last 11 games. They're a bottom 10 team there. What about second chance points? Because the Clippers, well, they got beat up in that area as of yesterday, giving up 23 to the New Orleans Pelicans, who went 8 of 11 on second chance opportunities. So the Miami Heat, not exactly the best in that area, but not exactly bad either. You know what? Last 11 games, they are worst in the league when it comes to opponent second chance points. Make it best. They don't give up many of those. Clippers are good in that area too if you don't look at yesterday's game. But as for the second chance points the Miami Heat actually get out there, they're just getting 12.6 per ball game the last 11 post All-Star break. Clippers have to hold them there as well. They hold them to their averages in second chance points, in three-point shooting. They should be okay even in a back-to-back against a struggling Heat team. All right, here we go. It's Carlo Jimenez on the call from Miami. Clippers and Heat, and tip-off is coming up next right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network.